Well, he's right. Like, we wouldn't even be talking about Jalen not playing well if A.J. Brown hadn't brought it up.
Twice.
Right. I mean, well, once,
Once,
maybe.
yeah, sure. Once definitively,
right,
once maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Jalen, I'll give you some stats that are impressive with Jalen Hurts. 4th in the league in yards per attempt. Okay. That's an important stat. You guys know that. 8.0 per attempt. 5th in the league regular season in passer rating. 103.7. 5th. All right? He's only got 5 interceptions all year. Only Lamar and Justin Herbert that's among full-time starters threw fewer interceptions. And then he's won 11 straight games, and 5 of those were against playoff teams. Oh, and he's got 14 rushing touchdowns, which is more than any quarterback, including Lamar and Josh Allen. And they're winning. Like, when you're a running quarterback and not a elite passer, which that's Jalen, your numbers aren't going to look great. These numbers are similar to his numbers 2 years ago when he was in the MVP conversation. He was throwing for more yards per game.
Yeah.
He's throwing for about 50 yards more per game. But that's significant. I get it. But touchdowns, he only had 22 touchdowns.
No,
he's got 18 now.
It's the yards per game.
It's the yards. So I think they should do what they do, which is run the ball and he throw the ball opportunistically.
That's fine. Sure. That I got no problem with. I have a hard time believing or agreeing that his stats are actually pretty good when his coach just said, I know his stats don't look good. Like, maybe if his coach...
But other than the yards per game, what doesn't look good?
Well, I think...
He hadn't thrown for a ton of touchdowns. They don't throw them.
So here's the thing. If you were to not have watched football this year and someone were to present you like, hey, playoffs have started. Here's one of the teams that can win the Super Bowl. If they don't, what do you think the reason will be? You'd look at this and be like, oh, well, it looks like they struggle passing and they're awesome at everything else. I mean, they are in the top 10 offensively and defensively in everything, and in the top 1 or 2 in rushing, pass defense, total defense, scoring defense, and then they're 29th in passing.
If they're 8th in total yards, and Jalen Hurts has got the ball and he's adding to both sides of that.
Right, but 8th usually isn't good enough to win, right? Like, we're down to 8 teams, and so and we think it's mostly the best teams. I don't think I understand what Sirianni's doing, and I respect him for defending his quarterback. He probably should have just taken a page out of Kevin Wilde's book and been like, by my stats, the only stat that matters, he's great. We lost twice with him.
11-0 his last 11.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he should have said, but regardless. But, I mean, to me, Greg, like actually, Jalen Hurts is playing great, which I'm not saying is what you're doing, Brew. It's like borders on gaslighting. Like, no, he's not. He's been fine. Right. Jalen Hurts has been fine. The rest of the team is excellent. And I think most people believe if the Eagles don't reach the Super Bowl, it will be because they can't go toe-to-toe in the passing game with either the Rams this weekend or Detroit next weekend. Like, that's the concern, and that's the standard. Like, if you're an S-Bob team, that's the standard.
And I agree. Like, if you have to pick a weak link, and I'm not saying he's not good.
It's clearly
but he is the weak link. Everybody else is like all-pro caliber.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's not good and playing solid football.
Yeah, Sirianni said he's been good, he's been efficient. And those are true statements. Like, he's been good and efficient. I would have loved to hear him just simply say he's been exactly what we've asked him to do this year. Like, he's been that quarterback, because we are okay with that. We were okay with it with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert all season long.
Correct.
But in the playoffs, which is where we currently reside now, we're in the playoffs, the expectation of quarterback play ratchets up because of what you're talking about. There is going to be a moment, whether it's in this game, whether it's in a game in the future if they continue to win, where it's going to be Jalen Hurts has to make a play. He has to shoulder a bit more of the offense. And we haven't seen him do that consistently throughout the year? That's the question that's looming. I don't care. I don't care if you're an Eagles fan. I don't care if you're not an Eagles fan. You look at this team, you look at those stats, and they could be misleading because the 29th in yards per game as far as passing, well, they've chosen to run the ball. And they've chosen to not do so much in the passing game. But when it's not a choice and you have to do it, can those numbers flip and it be Jalen Hurts won us a game?
I've seen it in the Super Bowl.
We have seen it.
Like we saw it a couple weeks ago against Pittsburgh. I'm not saying that's against the world beaters, but some playoff
Pittsburgh
team
was good, and he was challenged on it, and it almost felt like, you know what, I'll deviate from the script just to give something to the media. And he started his press conference with, that's what you want? You don't think I can throw the ball? I was in the Super Bowl. You don't remember that?
Yeah,
I went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, a couple things. One is, you got to pick, you personally have to decide whether Super Bowl appearances that end in a loss matter to
If you play well,
because
you go head-to-head with...
Whoa.
No, buddy.
What are we mad about?
Did you win? Did you lose?
You have whenever
It's certainly not as good as winning.
No, but when previous to this season even starting, when the big argument for Burrow would be he went to a Super Bowl, you would dismiss it as if it were nothing.
But because
just throw it out.
Because it's not winning the Super Bowl.
No, right.
But we put Joe Burrow losing the Super Bowl, right up here, right at the tip top of the screen. Mm-hmm. And we put Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy losing the Super Bowl down in the basement of the studio.
First of all, I don't...
They all played great.
Right, hold on a second. It is because of this. Show me Jalen Hurts in playoff wins. It's because Joe Burrow's route to the Super Bowl did not look like this.
You had me in playoff wins. That's when I stopped listening.
Well, then,
as soon as you said, that's what we've been talking about all year. He doesn't have the mark. There's no Nick Wright from Philadelphia saying, you know what he's trying to do? He went to the Super Bowl. They went toe-to-toe. They went all the way. And you know what happened? They realized they don't have to light it up. Hey, can't you light it up? Don't you want? He said, no, I'll dial it back. There's no in Philadelphia, but it's the same story in Mahomes.
The reason Burrow gets more credit is because
it's a great defense. He doesn't have to do anything.
That's it. He beat Mahomes. Because other quarterbacks that get there and lose don't get that credit.
We're not going to knock Joe Burrow like he's not
he's
good.
great.
He doesn't
And because they got to the Super Bowl based on their passing attack.
Yes.
The reason there is no one defending Jalen Hurts like Patrick Mahomes is because they would sound ridiculous.
Okay.
Because
he does enough to win and doesn't have to take chances and keeps his interceptions down and leans on the defense.
If that is the only reason that argument is as good of one as it is because he's already also done it every other way. We are yet to see a single playoff game, a single one, where he checks the box that you care about the most, win, and the box I care about the most, play awesome. And so you all of a sudden, because you like the player, totally throw out what is your fundamental belief about football. I don't care how well you play in a loss. Yeah. It's the only guy you'll do it for.
It's not my main thing. It's just a little thing. I've seen him in the Super Bowl, but I'm just not going to say in the biggest moment we need him to show up. Like, I've seen him make a Super Bowl run and come up short.
But so I don't know if Brew agrees with me. I have not, since that Super Bowl, seen Jalen Hurts at any point in those 2 years play as well as he did throughout that season. I have not seen it.
Oh, as well, he was pretty impressive against Pittsburgh a few weeks ago. Like you said, as well as he played in his MVP or
that's the game. That's the media game when he showed up looking awesome.
He played great a couple weeks ago. Now he hasn't done it consistently.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
Because if the Rams decide, okay, Jalen, you got to beat us passing, and he does it this week, we'll all say, okay, Jalen played great. He will. If the Detroit Lions or the Commanders, whoever wins that game, forces him to do it again, and he doesn't, we would be looking at Jalen Hurts saying he hadn't done it all season long.
Yeah,
Because we haven't seen that consistent. What you're talking about are one-offs. In the years prior, yes, we saw
1 year prior.
More.
He had 1 year where he was consistently excellent, and it culminated in a Super Bowl he played great in and lost, and it wasn't his fault, except for, of course, the fumble that flipped the game. But in the 35 games of football since then, 35 games, and by the way, the 30 games of his career prior to that season, we saw nothing like it. And so it's a question mark.
Is he winning games?
The Philadelphia Eagles are winning games.
Okay.
And so
But
he's a part of that because he's not turning the ball over.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing.
The point was, hey, you're putting him in jeopardy. You got the big contract. You need to show out. He did. Said, you know what? This is good for me, but bad for the team. So then he switched it and did stuff that's good for the team and bad for his reputation. And now he's getting
so that's where sorry, just give us one more minute here. That's where I just think we are fundamentally misrepresenting the football game we just saw on Sunday. Sunday was not, I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm going to sacrifice my stats for the betterment of the team. Sunday was, I played a very bad game, and luckily, Saquon Barkley and my defense and Jordan Love bailed me out. It was not you know what, I'm just going to be game manager, who cares about my stats. He played poorly.
But I agree, he didn't play well, but that's what they want from him this year. Game management.
That's fine, but he also, in the most recent, since the Super Bowl, he's played in 2 playoff games. He has played incredibly poorly in both of them. It's a concern. They won this one despite it. That playoff game this weekend was not the way Mahomes is doing it, and you know it. You watched it.
You used to be an Eagles guy. Before we go, we're going to get serious for a second. You can help families impacted by the wildfires. Visit go.fox/Red Cross or scan the QR code on your screen to support these efforts. Your donation enables the Red Cross to respond to and help people recover from this disaster. We'll be right back.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.